Hey y'all, happy holidays. My name is Max. I'm an instructor at Youth Code Jam. And for this Spurs Give Holiday Coding Camp video, we are going to be making some fireworks using Scratch. So we'll be using a starter project. And to get there, you can go to bit.ly/SGCC1221B, and that'll take you directly to a blank project just like the one you see here. You will want to make sure that you're logged into your Scratch account. If you don't have a Scratch account, you can go to scratch.mit.edu/join and sign up for an account pretty easily. Scratch is free to use, and it's really fun. So let's get started. Once you're here in the starter project, you'll notice that we only have one sprite. We're only going to use one sprite for this project, but we'll be cloning it and we'll be using the pen tool. So let's add the pen tool because we don't have a category over here on the left for pen blocks. And we are going to be doing some drawing with our sprite. So on the left side here in the bottom left, click on the blue square here, and that'll take you to a list of extensions that you can add. Find the one that says pen and click on that, and that will add a bunch of pen blocks over here in a whole pen category. We'll need these blocks. So the first thing we want to do is set up a green flag event. So in events, go ahead and click and drag one of the when green flag blocks onto your workspace. This is a hat block, and it starts code, so it can go anywhere on your screen. Doesn't matter where you put it. The next block we'll need is from the pen category. And the first thing we're going to do is set our pen color. So this doesn't really matter too much. You can set it to whatever color you want it to be because we're going to change this color later with our code. But you can use the sliders here to pick your favorite color. And the next block that we're going to need is from the looks category. So here we're going to go into looks and find the block that says set color effect. So be careful that you don't grab the one that says change color effect. Right now we just need the one that says set color effect, and we can leave this value as 0. And the next thing we're going to do is hide our sprite. So when we start our project, we want to make sure that our sprite is hidden and we can't see it here on the stage. It'll show up later, I promise. So the next thing after that is we're going to set up a loop, and we can just use a forever loop. So if you go to the control category over here on the left, we're going to get a forever loop and attach it right underneath that hide block. So inside of this forever loop, we're going to use an if-then block. And we're going to check, this block is kind of like asking the computer a question. And the question that we're going to ask it is the mouse button being pressed? So the block we'll need is in sensing, and it's one of these pointy blocks, and it says mouse down, and it has a question mark there. And we're going to insert this block into the pointy space on the if-then block. And then whatever code we put inside of this will happen only when we do click that mouse button. If you're using a tablet, this will also work when you touch the stage. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have some sounds a little bit later. So we're going to set the pitch effect to be a little bit random, just to give the sound of our fireworks some variety. So I grabbed this block that says set pitch effect. Again, here we want to make sure that we're grabbing the set pitch effect and not the change pitch effect block. And instead of typing a number in here, we're going to use an operator So go to the operators category over here. It's green. And grab the block that says pick random 1 to 10 and insert it into this value space on the set pitch effect block. We don't need to have too big of a range. Let's just do -3 in the first space here. And you can type this in. And we'll go from -3 to 3. So we're only changing the pitch just a little bit. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to change the pin color. So we set it here first, but now we're going to change it. So now we do want that block that says change pin color. And here, instead of 10, really you can put whatever number you want here. It doesn't really matter, but I found 20 gives us a good variety of colors. The next thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that our pin is up. So it works kind of like a real pin where you have to put it down to draw. And then you can lift it up to move it and not draw. So first we're going to make sure that the pin is up, and that if we've drawn anything before, we want to erase all of those drawings. I know we haven't drawn anything yet, but remember this is going to happen at the start of our project. So if we have some drawing from a little bit later on, once we actually do make it draw, we want to make sure that that goes away before we make new fireworks. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to take care of is the sound effect. So in sound, we definitely want to hear our fireworks. In sound, we're going to get a block that says start sound and place it still inside of this if then underneath the erase all block here. And we're actually going to need 3 of these blocks. So I'm just going to go get the 2 other ones right now. And we want to make sure we're using one of each of the sounds that is in this starter project. So there's 3 sounds: pow, echo, and fizzle. And we're kind of using 3 different sounds to combine to make a fireworks sound. So if you do click the green flag now, you should be able to hear this sound when you click on your stage. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is change the color effect of our actual sprite. So up here we set the color effect. These are just sort of giving our project some initial values up here. Now we're going to change the color effect. So in looks, you can find a block that says change color effect by 25. And we're going to attach this still within this if-then block. And I'm going to make this one 22. Again, this number doesn't really matter too much. You can play around with this number and see what it does. The next thing that we're going to do is we want to make sure that we're making our fireworks wherever we click with our mouse. So the way we can do that is by making our fireworks sprite always go to our mouse pointer. So there's a block in motion that says go to random position by default. You can grab this block and use the drop down to select mouse pointer instead of random position. And then we're going to attach this right underneath the change color effect block, still within the if then block. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to repeat some code so that we can clone this sprite. Our sprite right now is just a little dot. You can't see it, but I'll show you on the costumes. It's just a tiny little dot. So we're going to clone the sprite several times. So we need a repeat block in control. You can find the one that says repeat 10, and this will be our counted loop. It's going to repeat code for a specific amount of times, and we can control that with this number. Let's do 10 for now. We can just leave that at 10. You can change this a little bit later, but there's kind of some rules to this number. The next thing that we're going to do is inside of this repeat, the first thing that we are going to repeat is creating a clone. So the very bottom of control, there's a block that says create clone of myself. And we're going to attach that inside of this repeat block. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to rotate our sprite. So we're going to go to motion and get this block that says turn right or clockwise 15 degrees. And we're going to put, instead of 15, we're going to put 36. And this is a number that you should keep as 36 for right now. If you want to change this, you can. Basically, this repeat 10 is going to be how many kind of branches your firework has. And then this number makes sure that it goes in a full circle. So if you change this number, just make sure that these two numbers multiply, and the result is 360. So 36 times 10 is 360. That'll make sure that it goes in a full circle. Cool. So now that we have this set up, technically it works, but we still can't see our sprite and we can't see the clones yet either. So we need to decide what happens when a clone is created. So to do that, we can go to Control, and towards the bottom, there is a block that says when I start as a clone. And this is another hat block, so you can put this anywhere on your workspace here. So on when I start as a clone, the first thing that we want to do is actually show our sprite. So in looks, there's a little block that just says show, and we'll attach that right underneath here. The next thing that we want to do is set our pen size. We're going to change the size a little bit as we draw. So the first thing we want to do is set the pen size. You can find that block in the pen category. And we're going to set the pen size to start off with as 12. This is a number that you can play around with. It'll just change the way that your fireworks look a little bit. The next thing that we want to do is we want to put our pen down so that we can actually start drawing. As our sprite moves, it'll draw a path. And after that, we'll actually move our sprite. So in Control, we're going to go get another one of these repeat 10 blocks for a counted loop. And we can leave this number as 10. And inside of this repeat, we're going to put some movement blocks. So let's go to Motion. And the first thing that we're going to do is turn our sprite a little bit. So we just want to turn it a little bit. Let's do 5 degrees. And then we're going to get the block that says move 10 steps. And we're going to change this value to 5 again. So we're going to turn clockwise 5 degrees and move 5 steps for 10 times. If you, it doesn't matter whether you do these clockwise or counterclockwise, but I would suggest these being the same direction. So if you want to do counterclockwise or left, you can do that, but I would, I think it'll look better if both of these are the same direction. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to change our pen size. So this is going to be still within this repeat block. So in the pen category, you can grab a block that says change pen size. Again, the set and change blocks look very similar. I mess it up all the time. This one needs to be change. And here we're going to change it, make it go smaller. So we want to change it by -1. So we're going to be subtracting size. And after we change the pen size, we want to change the sprite size a little bit so that it gets smaller. It's already pretty small, but if you decide to make the sprite a little bit bigger, this will make it smaller as we move outwards from the center of the firework. So we are going to go to looks and grab a block that says change size by, and we're going to put that inside of the repeat block. And just like we did with the change pen size, we're going to make this one by -1. So we're going to be subtracting size. All right. So once it's moved 5 steps 10 times for a total of 50 steps, we are going to erase all of our pen marks that we've made. So in pen, we can find a block that says erase all. And we're going to put that not inside of the repeat block like I just did, but outside the repeat block. So we want to make sure that this one is attached underneath the repeat 10 block. And after this one, we're going to add another repeat block. So we're going to do repeat some more code. And this time, instead of 10 here, we want to repeat this code that we're going to add inside here 30 times. And the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to move all of our clone sprites down towards the bottom. So to do that, we need a block that says change Y by. And if you're not familiar with X and Y, Y means up and down and X means left to right. And if you get confused about that, you can look over here in the sprites pane, and there's some really handy arrows to remind you of which way each of those letters represent. So since we want to move down, we're going to use the change Y by block, and we're going to stick this inside of the repeat 30, and we're going to change Y by -1. This means that we'll be moving 30 units down. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to make our sprites, our cloned sprites, slowly disappear. And we can do that with one of the effects here in looks. So we're going to grab the block that says change color effect. But this time we're going to use the drop down and select ghost. We're going to become more ghostly. So you would think you would have to, if you're getting less visible, you would have to subtract numbers here. But since it's the ghost effect, you're going to get more ghostly. So let's make this one 4. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the pen transparency. Because remember, we're still drawing as we're moving down. We never picked the pen up. So we're still drawing at this point. And we just want to make the pen drawing kind of disappear too. So as our firework fizzles out. So we're going to go to the pen category and grab a block that says change pen color by 10 and use the drop down to select transparency. And this can go right underneath the ghost effect, still within this repeat 30 block. And we can set this one to 4 too. 4 also. Yeah, so this will create kind of like a fizzle out effect as our firework disappears. The next thing that we're going to do is to make sure that we're ready for the next firework, we're just going to erase all one more time. So we'll put this outside of the repeat 30 after all of that's done. We're going to erase all, and then the last thing we're going to do to complete the code is we are going to delete the clone. So now that we have our code completed, you can test it out. This is what it all looks like. And if you press the green flag, you should be able to click here on the stage, and you can see that each of those individual clones go out from the center, and then they go down a little bit and fizzle out. So there is an adventure mode for this. So if you don't know what an adventure mode is, it's just some ideas on how you can make this better. We coded all of this together. So everybody who does this with me is going to have the same code, but you can make this better. Right now, this is a picture of the skyline in San Antonio. So one of the adventure modes is to change the backdrop to a different city if you live in a different city, or maybe just have a different backdrop. There are some other really cool adventure modes that you should check out. You can do so by clicking on the link for the PDF instructions for this code in the YouTube description below. I had a lot of fun coding with everybody today. I hope you have a lot of fun making this, and I can't wait to see what everybody has coded. Thanks, y'all.